Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing Sanakin in the 5-minute pool on ICC. Sanakin opens with e4. What do we want today? Let's play a Sicilian. c5. Maybe I'll do something a little unusual, although you never know what people will play against the Sicilian. Let's play e6. I haven't played a Kan for a while, so I'm thinking of going for that line. So yeah, let's play the Sicilian Kan. e6 and a6, controlling vital squares. Let's play knight f6, hit this pawn. Now, the most aggressive way to play this is with bishop b4, but I'm going to play queen c7. This is the way I'm a bit more used to. Bishop g5. I don't know about that move. Okay, now I will play bishop b4. Threatening knight takes e4. Okay, so therefore white takes. Maybe I should have taken there right away, but this could be okay too. Now, maybe queen e5. Defending f6 and also attacking the knight. Looks pretty good. My opponent is from our friendly neighbor to the north, Canada. Okay, let's take on c3. Yeah, and they have to take back that way. Now, if I play f5, they can't play bishop d3 because I take on c3 with check, which looks fairly bad for them. So I think I should probably play this move, even though it is another pawn move, and I've already made several to start this game. I mean, they could play bishop d3 as a sacrifice. Queen takes c3 check, king here, but it doesn't look like they're going to go for that. So queen takes, or just take with the pawn. If queen takes, probably queen g3, although then they lose the knight, don't they? Therefore, I think it is better to take this way. Yeah, because if pawn takes queen e3, I feel like they would have some compensation on the dark squares. So let's try to avoid giving that to them. Whereas here, they do have to simplify. And I have so many of my pawns on light squares, all of my pawns on light squares, that I will have to worry about the dark squares. But they don't have a dark square bishop, so I feel like I should be fine. Maybe king e7. Looking for a quick d6 before I start developing here. Okay, therefore they castle. Let's play knight c6. I'm going to try for b6 and rook b8 to unwind. Yeah, I think this is good timing on this move. If take rook b8, knight c4, I have d5 to kick that knight away. If I didn't have this available, it might be a little tricky to break open the position and like get my bishop into play, for instance. But now I think I will achieve that, thanks to this move. Seems like they overlooked this, because otherwise you wouldn't want to play knight c4 if you're just forced to retreat like this. All right, so they're maneuvering their knight. Let's just bring our bishop out. Probably rook c8 is what we'll do pretty soon. Try to take this pawn in our sights. Okay, yeah, let's go rook c8. This knight can jump to e5. Also going to a5 is a serious option. That might just be a blunder, because I can take, and then play knight e5, and that's a double attack on the bishop and also the pawn. So let's first take. I think knight b4 is also maybe good, although then they just play king b2. Yeah, so let's stick to this one. Easy does it, right? Just a good old double attack. Knight d4 was kind of flashy. I think that would have worked as well. But now let's go take this pawn with check. Maybe rook e3 just to keep the rook active. Yeah. Also, bishop a4 is on the agenda. Attacking this pin knight. Just seeing if there's any other tactics that I'm overlooking here. Knight c4 check might work. Bishop takes, rook takes, take. But knight c4 check, they could just move their king away. So I think if I'm going to attack the knight, this is the better way to do it. Yeah, let's play this way. It's funny, I actually recorded 3 Blitz videos today, and then I realized that I wasn't even posting my Blitz videos today. So I still have to go record a bullet video after this. So here I can just take on b3, because if they take on e3, I have bishop takes d1 check, winning material. So nothing for white to do other than take here, and then I can take on b3 either with either rook, and we're winning more material. Yeah, it really doesn't matter too much which way we take. Although I'm going to take this way. Let's do it like that. Because now I have a nifty way to basically end their resistance. King d2, knight f3 check. Yeah, and we're even playing for checkmate. This knight's defended, so rook d2, rook takes d2 mate. Sanakin resigns. All right, so much of that game was determined by the pawn that we won and the queen trade that was brought about as a result after queen takes e4. Now, my only concern upon getting to a position like this is consolidating the extra pawn. In the Kan, you are behind in development at the outset of the game, so I have no pieces out, and I've got some dark square weaknesses. So I was trying to make sure that I didn't get too bottled up, and it's key right here after knight e3 that I have the resource b6. And after c takes b6, rook b8, knight c4, d5. Without that, white might have some compensation. But I think as played, it's totally straightforward after this. I mean, black has an extra pawn, a much better position. You can see the weaknesses in white's camp on a2 and c3. So the ship has already sailed for white. They're just dead meat. Let's go back and have a look. So a Sicilian Kan. In this variation, black is playing to control some key squares on b5 and d5. Those are two squares that are traditionally weak in a Sicilian, and the Kan just addresses that right away. A lot of players from the white side have difficulty playing against this line because black has not committed any of their pieces. You can see that I'm leaving my minor pieces back, so I have a tremendously flexible setup. I'm just making some useful pawn moves, basically. Hence, it's actually kind of tricky to study the Kan sometimes because sometimes black has like a number of ways they can develop. And so does white. White has flexibility as well. But I found that a lot of players from the white side don't like facing this variation. They would prefer to face something more concrete like the knight or for the dragon, where they're more comfortable in their preferred setup, whatever that may be. So here, white plays c4. Unlike a normal open Sicilian, this move is possible because white's knight is not on c3 yet. So they can play their pawn up and get the knight in behind it if they like. Most players do play bishop d3 or knight c3 instead, though. So here I play knight f6. Note that e5 would be a typical mistake because of queen a5 check, forking the king and the pawn. So white correctly played this. Now, bishop b4 is pretty sharp. Much sharper than the move that I played, queen c7. I think after queen c7, it makes a lot of sense for white to play a3 and stop bishop b4 altogether. And I was going to go for a hedgehog type setup where I play d6 and put the bishop on e7, b6, bishop b7, knight bd7, castle short, and arrange these pawns on the 6th rank. But instead we got a sharper battle because after bishop g5, I decided to take the opportunity to play bishop b4. I know sometimes it's possible to play knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen e5 here, and I wonder if this is possible in this position. Attacking the knight, which is pinned, and if white plays like f3 to defend it, then we play f5. I probably wouldn't have gone for this even if I knew it was possible because it's pretty risky to, prioritize winning a pawn over your development. But let me just see out of curiosity if the engine thinks that's playable or not. Yeah, knight takes e4, then queen e5, and we're going to win back the piece. But still, I don't know if it's worth a pawn. Yeah, bishop e2. Let's just say queen takes e4, castles. Black has only their queen developed. All of white's minor pieces are out, and also their king is safe. So in a blitz game, this is not a fun time for black. Even in a longer game, it wouldn't be. I think white has great compensation here. But as played, I played bishop b4. They took, and I automatically recaptured on f6, although I probably should have thought about this move. Because after g takes f6, white could play some move so that after a capture, they can recapture with a piece rather than a pawn. So, something like queen d2 or maybe rook c1. I should have at least thought about that after bishop takes f6. But I was trying to play fast. Sometimes the mistakes that you make in a chess game can be boiled down to autopilot moves. That's one typical classification of a mistake. Like, they take your piece and you just immediately recapture because that's what you do when someone takes your piece. You capture back. So I notice a lot of autopilot move errors in the play of my students and just in any player, really. It's a pervasive problem at all levels of chess. In fact, one of the chess cognition videos I did a while back was my game with Alejandro Ramirez. I played an automatic recapture, and there was a really cool resource that both I missed and Alejandro missed at the time. So, yeah, this sort of thing happens a lot. So, queen f3. Now I played queen e5. I think this is a good solution, just defending this pawn and attacking the knight on d4. Now white brought the knight back to c2, which is maybe a little weak. Although, I think black is doing pretty okay regardless. I feel like white's dark squares are vulnerable now that they've traded that bishop for the knight. They have doubled these pawns and made it costlier for me to castle kingside, but at the expense of dark square control. So I feel like they're going to miss their dark square bishop. So knight c2, attacking the bishop. I took. And unfortunately for them, they felt like it was necessary to take with the pawn here. Maybe they could take with the queen. Take here, check, knight e3. This could be a dangerous pawn grab. Now I have to worry about this pawn being under attack. Although I could just trade queens here if I want and decline to take the e-pawn, although this is a improved version of the game for white. They're not down a pawn. As played after this in f5, I think white is forced to give up a pawn because there's no good way to defend this without giving up c3. It did cross my mind that maybe bishop d3 would be played, the idea being takes and then king e2, and white can try to use their development to launch an attack. Even this seems sketchy, but there's also, I saw the engine was looking at d5 here too, trying to crank up the pressure on e4. So maybe that's playable as well. But white played bishop e2, and now I think there's a big distinction between queen takes e4 and f takes e4. If I play f takes e4, I feel like after queen e3, white is going to gain a lot of play for that single pawn. My dark squares are weak, and with the presence of the queens on board, the stakes are going to be higher for black with a king that is more potentially exposed compared to white's king. Whereas with the trade of queens, you notice that my king was perfectly fine in the center, standing on e7. So a lot of times a game can turn on a queen exchange and the impact that queen exchange will have on the position. And here, given that I'm behind in development and I'm about to go up a pawn, I would much rather have the queens off the board as black versus having them on and being subject to attack and having my king be potentially weaker. So hopefully that makes sense. Hence, queen takes e4, and since I'm also attacking the knight, white is obliged to trade queens. They can't go here due to queen takes c2. So they did trade. We got this position, and now c5. So I think white was cognizant of the fact that they maybe wanted to stop me from going d6 or b6. But it's probably just the case that they're worse at this stage. So I went here. If white had played knight e3, I was probably going to play d6. Although maybe there's trouble with that. Check. I guess I can go to c7 and cover b6. But I was looking to break through with d6 as soon as I possibly could. The engine says rook g8 is better. I probably would not have played that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would have gone here. Instead, they castled. I brought the knight out, knight e3, and white just one move too late after b6. I thought this might even be a bigger advantage because it looked really nice for me after this and then rook b8. Certainly after knight c4, it's looking very good. So to minimize the damage, white has to seek play in the center. A move like f3 just looking to swap. Yeah, I mean, this also looks very bad for white. Even though my king's in the center, it's hard to attack. My pawns provide a nice buffer there. So, yeah, knight c4, though, no reason to play that move, because after d5, white just had to move the knight again. Now I take this pawn, and my play comes very easily. Bishop d7, swing the rook over to c8. You can see the eval, it's already losing for white. Here I had some nifty possibilities. Yeah, knight a5, that's another good move. Opening up an attack on c3 and also hitting the knight. I think almost any knight move is good for black here. I even thought about knight d4, trying to do something similar. Although that would that would run into this, and then the knight is defended by, or the bishop is defended by the knight. Even here, interestingly, black is doing all right according to the computer. I've got several pawns, but no reason to go down that road. So just knight e5, double attack. Not much to look at after this. Pile on the pin piece, try to win more material. Take. If you were to take here, we take on d1 with check, discovery. So he takes back, but yeah, we were winning in short order here. Mate. All right, so I think if you're going to play the Kan, you should have knowledge of what to do after c4. So if you like this opening for black, definitely take a look at that line. It can lead to hedgehog type positions if you like. You saw a more aggressive version of this line where I'm developing the bishop to b4 versus going for this slower d6, bishop e7 setup. I think from white's point of view, probably their play has to be rethought right around here. I think queen f5 was a bit reckless. It didn't look like they saw this f5 idea coming. And after that, they just had a bad position. Knight c4 was not a good move, but the position is already bordering on lost, I think. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this game, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Talk to you guys later. Bye.